We
Marvellous.
are.
Well, super duper. Well, hello, everybody. Enormous welcome to you. Thank you for being our early arrivals. I'm sure we'll have a few people join us as we progress. I'm Caroline Bedford. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Eddie. I would love to know where you're joining us from today. So please feel free to pop in the chat or in the Q&A, your role, whereabouts you are today, so we can be curious about our audience as well. So you are extremely welcome. Today, our webinar is about curiosity and its transformative role in insurance marketing. We're going to talk about the current use of curiosity, its potential, in particularly in an industry like insurance, where I'm sure you'll all agree, complexity, regulations, they're all constants for us. And we're going to share that curiosity is not just a personal trait. It is, in today's industry, a strategic advantage. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Eddie, where we work with people from all over the insurance industry, teaching them to be corporately creative, so to drive those insights, to ask better questions. And we're going to look today at how we do that to create content, campaigns, and messaging. So on behalf of the Insurance Marketers Group, I'm absolutely delighted to bring you into this great conversation today. We're going to hear from three people hugely active in the insurance marketing space, each of whom has a deep excitement around curiosity and who has harnessed that to deliver meaningful results in their role, wherever they may be. And we're going to explore how curiosity not only shapes their work right now, but how they also feel it will redefine what's possible for marketing and the industry as a whole. So let's start by getting to know our panelists a little bit better. Each of you brings a unique perspective to the table. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your role. Jasmine, can I start with you, please?
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Hurnley. I'm a senior content consultant at QBE. I joined QBE 3 years ago as a communications and media graduate. And in my current role, I manage the social media presence for QBE Europe, which is across 9 countries, and also for QBE Re and British Marine. And last year, I also won the IMG's Young Marketer of the Year award.
You absolutely did, Jasmine, and as a result, we've been very fortunate to have you on our Digital Minds program. So, so I know that you have got a lot to say about curiosity, and I'm excited to hear it. So Louis, Jasmine's been probably our newest person on the panel, being in the industry for 3 years. How about you, Louis? I know it's a little longer than that for you.
Oh, it is, yeah, don't remind me. So yes, I'm Louis, so I'm a marketing manager at Lopton. So I've been there for about 2 years, and I've been in insurance for about 8 years. Well, yeah, like you said, I feel like I'm still a marketing assistant. So, but now I'm my kind of panel era, so it's kind of good to get along a little bit.
It's your panel era. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. So I look after Lopton's transportation division. So that covers marine, space, fine art, aviation, cargo. So a whole kind of breadth of specialisms, which for me is really exciting because it really just adds a bit of kind of different flavour to my day each day. So one time I'm thinking about what art institutions want, and it's satellite operators. So yeah, I really love my job actually. And before I worked at Lopton, I was at Free Partners. That's the creative agency, which lots of you probably know. And then before that, I was at Miller, so a smaller broker. So been in insurance, yeah, getting on a bit now.
Getting on a bit now. Well, that leads me. Thank you, Louis. Simon.
I was waiting to hear how you were going to broach this introduction, given there's been so much focus on age and tenure. So I'll just hand it over to you. Just hope the lawyers are listening.
So Simon, Jasmine's been here for 3 years. Louis has been 8 or 9. You're the voice of deep experience. Tell us about your role.
Very diplomatically put.
Nice.
So yes, my name is Simon Johnston. I'm the marketing director in the UK for Markel. I've been in insurance marketing for about 15 years, maybe a bit longer, and in marketing generally a bit longer than that. I started agency side, which many people do, helping Domino's Pizza get on the map in the UK with McCann, and I moved in-house with Honda, so experience in the automotive industry. And then, like a lot of people, fell into insurance. Yeah, and wasn't something I planned, but was something very different when I ended up in that industry. And I think it's fair to say that I've had a front row seat in the last sort of 15 years as insurance marketing has evolved from what was brollies and brochures in those days. We were working for a London market insurer, up to data-driven and digital marketing as we see it now. And I'm really lucky. I've worked for some brilliant insurers. I worked for Chubb, Allianz, and obviously now Markel. I've worked with some amazing people. Yeah, I think insurance is still very much a people-led organization, industry, sorry. And I've really seen the marketeers evolve in insurance. I think it was definitely a side of the desk type role for a lot of people early on in the industry, and now it's a proper profession really coming into its own. And delighted to see that in my experience, and of course at the IMG Awards the other evening when we saw so much talent on display. I'm a total self-confessed insurance geek these days. I love insurance. I love everything about it. So you'll probably get a load of boring stuff from me compared to our young savvy marketeers on this call.
Not at all. I think being an insurance geek, being passionate about all aspects of insurance is probably something everybody on this webinar has got in common, and also those in the audience as well, because you're clearly curious guests and audience to hear other people's perspectives, which is fantastic. And that's one of the things why the Insurance Marketers Group works so well. So I will just beseech you in the audience, I have got more questions than time today, so feel free to add in your own questions as we go through it, and I will do my absolute best juggling act to make sure we elicit as many insights as we can from our fantastic trio here. So we've said the word curiosity. Louis and I have a little bet as to how many times we can say it between now and 3. I think we'll probably both win there. Eddie, we try to move away from the phrase soft skills now. We look at kind of discovery skills, and curiosity might seem like one of those softer skills, but in the context of the industry, and in particular in marketing, we feel it's got hard-hitting implications. Asking the right questions, pushing those creative boundaries. I think you'll all agree that curiosity shapes how we all work. So I'm going to ask you for each of your definitions. Jasmine, how do you define curiosity in the context of insurance marketing, and why is it particularly valuable to you?
I think curiosity, the definition of curiosity, is having a desire to continuously learn. So I think an insurance marketer, is someone who is digging deep into customer pain points, the future of risk and marketing trends to create more dynamic, engaging campaigns. And I think it's really valuable to me and to everyone on the call, is because curiosity is not just helpful in this industry, it's essential. We're selling very complex products. Sometimes not always our customers are going to understand, and also the market we're in is constantly changing. So I think maybe more than other industries, we need to be continuously learning to stay ahead in our roles.
It's absolutely really changing, isn't it? Completely agree with you there, Jasmine. And when Louis, I'm going to come to you, because you talked about transportation, you talked about aviation, you talked about space, you talked about fine art, you talked about species. I mean, gosh, how can insurance be dull with all those elements? And you've got that kind of energy. It's very apparent from listening to you. How do you define curiosity? How does it drive your role?
Yeah, so I kind of approached this, or thinking about it in kind of 2 ways. I think there's 2 different definitions of curiosity. I think the first is your kind of internal curiosity, and that's kind of what Jasmine was just saying in terms of asking the questions and having that openness to kind of develop. And I think that can kind of determine the question that you are, can kind of determine how perhaps seen you are, or how aware you are of insurance. So, like you said, I'm not a specialist in marine or space, so therefore it's vital that I'm curious and ask those questions when I'm working with a specialist, so that I can gain a deeper understanding of that. But also it could be just thinking about, if you're trying a campaign, if you tried it this way or tried it that way. So I think that for me is the kind of first part. But then I think the second part is using that in kind of internal curiosity and what you've learned or what you developed into creating something that itself is curious. So creating a unique campaign or something that's kind of interesting, and how you then translate that into campaigns that pique the interest of your target market. Because of course, if you get that, then that in turn generates new business, and of course then new income as well. So just thinking about why that's important for the insurance industry, and actually I've thought about this quite a lot because there's so many kind of different things. Insurance isn't necessarily an easy product to market, so if marketers have got such a deep understanding, they're being really curious about how that kind of product works, you can do your job better, right? Also, it's really competitive insurance. And I think we need to be curious about how we adapt to that, because the market's obviously constantly change as well. Also, I think it's really important to be curious the next generation. Now, by managing people, I just see how important it is that I'm curious and how that then translates to what they're doing. And I think just generally for the industry as a whole, I saw a report by Free Partners about this kind of skills gap. I think it said something about in the next 15 years, there's going to be a 50% retirement rate in the industry. So I think us creating curious and really interesting marketing is going to play a kind of important role in bringing people to the industry. Because I think when you're not in insurance, you don't look at insurance necessarily as a viable industry to work in. But if we as marketers play our part, we can really help, I think, secure the future of that. So.
And that we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, Louis, about how we encourage new joiners to the industry. And you talked about curiosity driving that knowledge, so being curious to get those kind of insights. Simon, you lead quite a substantial team. Tell us how that works in Markel.
Well, first of all, it's difficult to expand on a definition based on what Louis and Jasmine said. I think they covered it really, really well. I just think for me, in all areas of my marketing function that I work in, and the other marketing functions within the industry, I think for a while things like insight and the ability to find out why were almost a bit of a nice to have sometimes, and we were reliant on third-party insights or industry reports or something to help inform us. Proprietary questions, your own ability to ask why, and I'm the father of a 5 and a 3-year-old, so I get the question why all the time, right? It's just so critical throughout the value chain that we exist in, from the client, broker, wholesale broker, insurer, reinsurer. When you're dealing with risk and people, there's so many variables that getting in there, getting curious, asking questions, just so critical to create solutions that are meaningful in the right course of action. And I was thinking about this because Caroline, you and I were on the judging panel for the 2023 IMG Awards a year ago now, and Nina and John from Travellers were given the One to Watch award, and that was because they'd done their entry around the importance of insight, the importance of insight and proposition design, and just articulated really well about the commercial opportunity that exists from being curious and finding out why. So that continues to resonate with me, and I think should resonate with all marketing teams moving forward. It's the easiest marketing in the world to do once you've got some answers that other people don't hold, answers to questions that other people don't have. That's your competitive advantage. So
we're going to talk about that in a little while, as much as we can do, in a room with 2 insurers and a broker. We're going to fight it out. No problem at all. So you're a father of a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-week-old, Simon. But I guess that she's not asking why just yet.
She's not asking any questions yet. Just putting demands on the sleep.
Putting demands. You know what? Long may that last. I think one of the important things that we're going to touch on today as well is how being curious, how eliciting insights to gain knowledge also helps us check our assumptions. So Simon, you touched on how marketing model is far more strategic than it has ever been, and being able to elicit those insights and evaluate them and help shape strategy. I know the Insurance Marketers Group goal is ultimately to have a marketer on every board of every organization within the insurance market, and certainly the way things are going, I see that we're very much on track strategically for that to happen. We touched on moving from brollies and brochures to digital insights and to deep insights. the insurance industry is constantly evolving, as we know. Digitization plays an enormous part in our clients' business model changes too. And therefore the expectations that clients have, the needs that they have from us are really changing as well. Louis, let me put this to you first. How do you use your sense of inquisitiveness, of curiosity, to stay attuned to all of those emerging needs across all of those lines of business that fall under your umbrella?
Yeah, I kind of feel it's pretty simple. It's just asking questions and just kind of staying in tune, right? The purpose of marketing is to put yourself in the shoes, on the brains of people you're trying to kind of target. So it's kind of adapting around that as well. One of the kind of things I had in mind when I was putting my kind of answer to this together was space. So we really recently launched our new space webpage around the same time we launched our new copy guidelines. And what's been really good about those copy guidelines is that it kind of forces you to be curious. So it asks you really in-depth questions about who you're kind of trying to target. And I've had hours and hours of questions around what makes satellite manufacturers and operators and people who launch stuff into space, what are they interested in? And actually just having such in-depth conversations with the experts enabled us to kind of really put ourselves in the brains of those people and then create copy around that could actually kind of fit that. But it's quite simple just to have that curiosity, understand what they kind of want, basically. But of course, this does change as well. We've kind of found that at the moment, the space market's quite hard. So the needs of that target market at the moment will be different from a year's time. And so it's kind of constantly staying in tune to what's kind of going on. I think that's just simple curiosity as well, right? So we've launched the website a couple of weeks ago, which is really good. And we've actually had some inbound inquiries in the first couple of weeks. So I think it really was beneficial to be curious, and then that's then created a really good final product, which is now working and successful. So yeah, simple curiosity in that terms of asking questions and keeping asking questions as well.
So you touched on simple there, and it's kind of a behavior, I guess, there, Louis. One of the things that we sometimes need to do is to embed some formal curiosity into our processes. Jasmine, have you found that? We do a lot of design thinking with you, Jasmine. Have you become corporately creative?
I think so. I think I kind of took this question slightly differently, of where I've seen a curious approach kind of helping us stay attuned to emerging client needs. So this example kind of spans a few years, but it first started a few years ago when I noticed that one of our blogs on social media was performing surprisingly well. It performed 3 times higher than the rest of our other blogs on social media, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I shared this insight with my manager, and then I kind of saw how she took that in a different approach, and she kind of was alerted to the fact that this is clearly an emerging client need that we need to be getting more content around. So since then, we've done so much more content around this topic, PR activity, reports, and that's been really successful for us. And more recently, our PR team did a piece of fantastic research on this topic that's been picked up in the BBC, major news outlets, and keeps performing really well for us. So this kind of shows, I think, how being curious about small successes and sharing them across the whole team can also help us stay attuned to emerging client needs. Even things like if an event is performed really well, had loads of registrations, or if a report is getting loads of downloads, looking at these smaller signals and then adapting quickly can help you also reach these emerging client needs. And I think as well, obviously it's great to share these successes with the business as well when you spot something that's performing really well, or you're experimenting and the topic you're speaking about is getting a lot of traction, because then it also gives the business an opportunity to respond to that client need, whether that's through developing a new product, service, or even a guidance sheet for customers. It can also help them.
Do you build this into a process, Jasmine? So you said that I love the story spanning over a few years, from when you must have been really quite new to the industry. How did you spot that blog was performing really well? What sort of process was involved in alerting you to that?
I've just always curious. I'm on LinkedIn all day, every day. It's my job. So yeah, I always look at the analytics every day of the stuff we have coming out that week. So yeah, that's just kind of my normal process.
Yes.
So yeah, just and then sharing that stuff with the team as well. I shared that originally just with my manager, but it would have been great to actually share that in hindsight with the whole team so that everybody could have benefited from that insight as well.
Interesting about LinkedIn, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. It's one of the platforms that I've seen evolve over the decades, really. You know, once upon a time, LinkedIn was, you know, purely a job search kind of tool or a way to advertise yourself, whereas now it's far more of a social media platform with a lot of insights. And Jasmine touched about deep analytics. Simon, you've moved from brollies to brochures to deep analytics to digitization. Markel Tech launching the big launch tomorrow with your friend Professor Brian Cox.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us how the world of curiosity and insights has led that to happen.
Yeah. So first of all, again, just agree with the other guys on the session that the amount of data we have access to as marketeers now is incredible, particularly in some quite traditional trading spaces. Obviously, direct insurance and stuff, there's always been a wealth of data available. But even in intermediary-led business now, there's still lots more data available to you, and more so now the platforms that allow us to turn that data into information, because I think there was a time when we were just awash with data and not really having any ability to turn it. But just think one thing I want to just touch upon there is, like, don't ignore the other data that exists within the business. So it's very easy to get seduced by the marketing data. Insurance companies and brokerages are just so wealthy when it comes to data. You know, whether that be your actuarial team, your claim team. I mean, go and sit in an actuarial reserving meeting, and the data that you will get sight of there is mind-blowing compared to what you might get in other industries around how their customers are behaving, performing, how your product's performing, etc. And you can take away some amazing things from those meetings. Other areas of insurance offer different things to their customers. You know, it's not uncommon for people at the smaller end of insurance, not quite as exciting as space. Your stuff sounds far more exciting, but, you know, in the smaller end mid-market, you know, things like legal helplines and stuff like that, you know, what are the customers ringing up about? You know, quite common complementary services, and you can get into that data and have a dig in there. You know, Markel, we offer that as something to all our policy holders. Sitting with that team, finding out what customers are called up about that week. You know, what the trends are going, which calls are taking longer to resolve. You know, really insightful when it comes to thinking about content, insurance products, you know, whatever it might be feeding. So there's so many data points, there's so many opportunities in insurance businesses to get your ear to the ground, and I would definitely be curious about that. Go and find out what insight opportunities exist for you beyond the more common data points.
It's a really good point, Simon, because curiosity, what does curiosity do? It uncovers data, but data only really becomes information when we put some insights around it, some structure around it that leads to us doing something with it. Otherwise, as you say, it's just data everywhere. And, you know, one thing the insurance is not short of is data. Louis, again, I'm going to come back to quite a few of the points that you've touched on today, but I think you've harnessed some of the power of the curiosity that you've elicited and fed that into some of your campaigns. Can you share some examples with us?
Yeah, sure. So in the start of the year, we launched a series of market updates for our marine business. I'm quite fortunate to have really invested stakeholders in here, and I think at the beginning of the year we had about 11 videos as part of this campaign, so quite a lot, and I think it's quite ambitious. Probably could have opened up a cinema somewhere, but it was really big hit. We put it on LinkedIn, various channels and whatnot, and I think we kind of looked at the stats, got really good engagement, and kind of job done. And then so the plan for this is to do it every or twice a year. So we recently relaunched the videos, and we could have just done the exact same again because we knew it's success, but actually we thought, let's take some time and think, how can we make this better, or what can we do differently? And again, I think it was just really kind of simple. I was trying to think of different examples, but I think actually just keeping it simple, because that's what curiosity is, right? It's just simply being curious, can be really beneficial. So this time around, we looked at the videos, we reduced the amount that we did, which obviously made it a lot easier as well. And then we thought about how we could post it and how we were going to reach our audience. And I think within the first 2 that we posted, I think we had about 70% of the 100% we had in the original campaign. So actually already with the first 2 videos, we're getting much bigger success. And I thought what was really good as well is I worked on this with my assistant as well. And actually, when he was looking at analytics, I could see him getting really excited about it. And I think it was just really good to see him at the start of his career kind of going through that process, thinking about, oh, actually, no, we could have just done the same again, but we were curious about how we could do it different and make it better. I think that could have really makes a difference then think about the next generation of people coming through. Just that simple bit of curiosity made the campaign so much better.
I love the idea of the locked-in cinema. We could get some locked-in popcorn going on. You talked about how your stakeholders were supportive and invested in marketing. What do you think underpins that kind of curiosity culture, Louis? Unscripted question there, Louis.
Yeah, where's the notes? I think a lot of we've got a really entrepreneurial question to kind of make it a bit of a sales pitch, but we are an independent broker, so we've kind of got freedom to be kind of creative. I think especially the marketing as well, I think they're just really invested in it and they kind of see the benefits of it. And I think obviously the more you do, the more invested they are as well. So I've been quite lucky to get good stakeholders, but also at the same time, I think it's work on my side to kind of push them to do new things as well. And it's, yeah, again, my curiosity, but also getting them to try new things and pushing the boundaries, which again is a part of curiosity, right? It's thinking what more can you do and expanding beyond that. So
that reminds me of that phrase: the harder I work, the luckier I get. For sure. And Jasmine, I know that you've been empowered to continually ask questions, and that's something that QBE really supports. What benefits have you seen by using these types of techniques?
Yeah, I just think I've been curious about different areas of the business has been great for me in my role doing social media, because there's so many stories within the business and case studies and all these things that you can really uncover by networking and being curious. So yeah, I think that's how it's
seen a lot of it. Absolutely. And one of the things that we like to look at Eddie is the style of being curious, because not everybody feels, some people feel curiosity is the power of the extrovert, or is in the realm of, you know, somebody who's more senior, whereas we're in a corporate world. So there are ways of eliciting insights using some natural but formal processes that allow you to uncover some of those evidence-based insights. So although curiosity, and when we talk about it, can feel like an emotional phrase, it can actually be the opposite, and we find that it can take the emotion out of some decisions, which in the insurance world can actually be very helpful. Tell us, Simon, about your experience then of promoting openness, giving people permission to ask questions.
Well, similar to the other guys, I feel really lucky to work for an organisation that I think really encourages that. You know, see, we have a thing called the Markel style, and within that, I won't give you all of it, but you know, within there we talk about, you know, not afraid of seeking to find a better way to do things, or a disdain for sort of bureaucracy, you know, that sort of stuff. You know, we're constantly pushed to explore, and you know, I think it sounds similar to what the other guys have spoken about. I'll give you an example of something like that. You know, we were already in market in the construction industry in the UK, and you know, SME construction's an area where it's really difficult to grow, and it's really easy to lose your shirt there, you know, if you do try and grow. And we were able to get permission to go and ask more questions. You know, we already had a lot of expertise, but you know, it's that acceptance that maybe we don't know all the answers, and that's really important, because I think sometimes when you push your company to be curious, you know, some people can take that as a bit of a slight on their expertise, yes, right, or something. So it's just about positioning that right and making sure you've got the backing to do it. So in construction, you know, market we were already in, I think we spoke to like 100 small construction companies and 100 brokers, and one of the things we were able to identify in the value chain wasn't anything to do with the actual coverage or anything like that, but was actually just something that these small construction firms were experiencing around absenteeism at that time. And any of you who have done construction work, building work post COVID lockdowns might have seen similar skill shortages or availability in that space, something really impacting the industry, and absenteeism is high. And we worked with a charity called the Lighthouse. It's the construction industry charity to build better understanding of that. And they gave us some amazing insights around the rise of stress and mental health issues in the industry, people working on their own, often men not wanting to talk about it, often working late into the evening. So we were able to evolve our existing strong product to include things like mental health wellbeing packages, whether that be 24-hour lines that people could talk about in confidence any time of the day, to things within our claim and recovery package to help people get back into work quicker. And as soon as you put those prevention and mitigation piece in place, they become better risks, see fewer claims, their insurance often becomes cheaper, and then we get more competitive. And if I just flick that into marketing, as soon as you got something like that, that's far more interesting to talk about than a limit, right? Or just any other tweets of products. And like a chap called Martin Parker who leads our construction offering, and when he went out to launch that product, that was everything that people wanted to talk about. When we did press interviews, when we did a couple of panel sessions at broker events, that was the topic that people honed in on, because there was real insight, real insight-led solution. And I think that's where what I would hold up quite often. It might not always be in the cover, it might not always be in the core of the product, but there's stuff in there that can really be powerful in positioning your products effectively in market.
I'm really glad that you brought that up. That kind of straddles two areas for me. So I'm going to pick on the first aspect, which is in a market where products can be ubiquitous. We need to, each of us needs to be able to stand out. And then secondly, in a market where our clients' needs are changing, again, we need to understand what it is that we can use to differentiate ourselves. So having that kind of power of corporate curiosity and being not just encouraged, but almost be part of our being, our culture, is to not make assumptions, elicit great insights, bring out qualitative data, quantitative data, and then be able to synthesize that into meaning. That's a really powerful tool, isn't it, that the marketing teams can give to the business. I'm sure you've seen firsthand, and we're all very when we're curious, we're probably a little bit competitive as well. So how do we go about standing out? How do we make sure that our brand is very clearly differentiated? How do we use curiosity to stand out in a crowded marketplace? Who'd like to go first on that? Who's going to use curiosity to jump into that question?
I don't mind going first on that one. I think the other two have gone first on a couple of others. I think bringing the customer to the table, whether it be in an internal meeting, a marketing campaign, or whatever, is always the most impactful mouthpiece you'll have. And in our increasingly specialist environments that we operate in, and Louis has been talking about, working in the space industry, probably doesn't get much more complex than that. Been able to talk with credibility and authenticity in that space, informing whether it be your insurers, your reinsurers, your introducers, your brokers. Not everyone in the value chain is as specialist as you are. If you can be the one that brings that insight, that the product of that curiosity to the table, people will want to work with you, whether it be in that current situation or product opportunity, or more importantly going forward. And I know that's when we get into the realms of like real strategic partnerships, getting into certain spaces, because if you can demonstrate that you've got that curiosity, that your business is willing to invest in it, people will want to work with you for the long term, because not only will you win more customers, you'll retain more, and you'll ultimately serve them better as a consequence of that knowledge.
Yeah, no, I can completely see that. I mean, even in our own roles and our own businesses, we know that what we're doing today is not in any way exactly the same as it was 12 months ago. So the same is true of our clients, and probably, you know, multiplied. Jasmine, you've been talking about LinkedIn, small changes, small signals. You were quite laser focused in that. What does your curiosity look like in sort of using that to shape your strategy?
I'd say curiosity encourages us to look beyond just what's happening in insurance to spot other emerging trends, and social media, being curious about that is a great way to stay up to date and to also differentiate yourselves. I think by being curious about, you know, trends on LinkedIn, like SEO-led content strategies or short form video or things like that, you know, you can really adopt that into the insurance industry where it's not being used, and kind of develop a unique kind of marketing niche for your brand. I think as well, without, you know, curiosity, it's going to be hard to be like an early adopter or the first adopter, and therefore you miss out on that long competitive advantage that being first offers as well.
Yeah. I think competition is, it's exactly, we can't, none of us can sit on our laurels anymore, can we? Which is great for us who are naturally curious, and perhaps those who are not naturally curious need to build in some of these techniques into their processes. Again, I am going to ask anybody in the audience, if you're curious, if you'd like to throw something into the mix, throw us a curveball. We're curious, we can handle it. Any questions that you might have, we're really open to. Louis, I'm going to go back to some of your the ways in which you deal with your clients at Lockton. And as you said, you're encouraged at Lockton to be very entrepreneurial. So what do? Do you give insurance copy to clients and say, read that, let me know if you have anything? Or have you got a different approach? I'm going to assume the latter.
Oh yeah, that'd be quite easy, right? Yeah, no, I think we put clients, we always say we do, but we always put clients at the kind of centre. And I think that is just so kind of crucial. And I think just keeping curious about that is kind of important. But I was also thinking about the question around kind of brand you had in terms of how do we use that curiosity to make our brand stand out? Because of course, insurance, let's just say, it's not a sexy industry to market, right? We'd much prefer to do, I don't know, British Airways or cars, but we're in insurance, and to be fair, I don't think I'd actually never leave insurance.
I don't think cars are doing so well, some of them brands at the moment. Maybe maybe they're wishing they had a few good old insurance products to market.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what makes our jobs interesting, because it's harder to market insurance, right? It's hard to make it stand out. If you kind of think about the brands that are in the insurance industry, and it's generally common, but there's so many different ways we can use our curiosity to help us kind of stand out as well. And I think about how our brands are an experience as well, and how we can make that kind of slightly different. And that's where you can look at different formats or different pieces of copy, or how they kind of interact with us as well. I think I keep banging on about space, but I think it was just a really good kind of case study. And I think someone said it's a very technical area, but we actually took a different approach, and we're kind of curious about if we kind of made it a bit more fun and kind of snappy. I think often we forget that we're marketing to people as well. We say industries and whatnot a lot, but at the end of the day, we are reaching just other human beings. So yeah, in the space web copy, for example, we just made it really fun and start using words like launch and make your mission soar and things like that as well. So I think that's kind of been really successful in that area, and actually it's now kind of being rolled out across other areas actually.
You reminded me when you're talking about space, I worked with somebody once whose title was head of space, and I thought, my goodness, would insurance really have a problem attracting people if we could all have a title like, I'm head of space? Fantastic.
Yeah, we have that. And then we also, sometimes when we're going to meeting with them, we're like, oh, just going to meet the space guys. And it's, I have to kind of take a step and think, oh, yeah,
exactly. Honestly, and our curiosity, the vision that in our minds, we're imagining many things. I can't be CEO of a company that focuses on what emerging tech is doing to our industry without at least touching on tech, although we don't need tech to become a curious person. However, it can accelerate the type of insights and analytics that it provides for us. And if we look at the tech hype curve, it would be remiss of me not to talk about generative AI and some of the insights and tools that is giving us. So Simon, I know that Markel is a very tech-enabled organisation. How's that shaping up your team and the roles that you have?
So I don't think you'd ever do enough on the tech front at the moment. So whilst I think we're lucky to be tech enabled, I think there's still plenty of opportunity, and I think it's something you constantly have to invest in. And back to what we referenced before, I think those tools are as much about harvesting data as to helping you bring that data into digestible formats, and then increasingly turn that into information so that your experts can, even at the most manual transactional level, perform tasks as informed as possible. And I think that's the real opportunity for me with tech across multiple vocations within insurance companies, whether you're underwriting, marketing, whatever. I still think we will be a people-powered business in the future. I don't, particularly in highly specialist areas, I don't think we'll see all underwriting done by big tech, but I think we'll see superhuman underwriters, very well informed, very well enabled, making increasingly better decisions by the tech that supports them. And I think if I just bring that back to marketing for a moment, we can use the tech that we have to make really smart decisions, and whether on our campaigns or our messaging. And again, back to business data, and I think a lot of the people on this call will probably exist in Microsoft environments. Something like Power BI, giving you the ability to bring lots of different data sets together is amazing. And if you're lucky enough to have CRM, having CRM tools are absolute game changers for me. I mean, one thing I talk to my guys a lot about is, when we're talking about insurance marketing maybe not being quite as attractive as other industries, as Louis said, a lot of B2B marketers spend 90% of their life playing around at the top of the funnel looking for buying signals. They're looking for that click, they're looking for that dwell, and then they'll just jump in. In our industry, we often know exactly what people have to buy from a legal perspective. We often know when they have to buy it, because they're based on a renewal date if they're an existing business or something. And because of the information they have to provide with their insurance, we already know quite a lot about them. So much insurance marketing can start further down the funnel. We're actually much better equipped than marketeers in other industries who have to spend so much time up here to get that opportunity to do some meaningful account-based marketing. We can start a lot more of that up front. And I think tools like HubSpot or whatever other marketing cloud tools you might have access to can really take advantage of that. Your ability to personalize, your ability to create unique journeys, your ability to direct people and push them into the direction that they need to be pushed in to create a commercial opportunity are all only effective if you've got that data to feed into them, because otherwise you can have a very heavy, expensive tech stack which doesn't actually do much. So I think these tools are not only streamlining us as operations, but are empowering us and our teams to focus on what really works. And that's where we'll get better outcomes for marketing and see marketing continue to kind of move up the priority list for insurers.
It's a really good point as well. Like tools are, AI enabled CRMs provide you with those deep insights, as long as you've got the volume of data in there. But also you need to have that human level of knowledge to know, what do you want to do with that data? Otherwise it's just data, isn't it? It hasn't yet transformed itself into information. And I second that. And Jasmine, Louis, I'm sure we can all spot a ChatGPT written post on LinkedIn. Stop using rockets, people.
They love a rocket. There's always a rocket in there.
There's always a rocket in there. But I think the phrase is now, in the right role, people who use artificial intelligence are more productive than those who don't. But we don't use it blindly. We use the curiosity to understand how to use it to our best advantage. Now, looking at this amazing panel that the Insurance Marketers Group, the IMG, have brought together today, we're really fortunate to have, Jasmine, you said that you were the winner of Young Marketer of the Year, and we've just had Berit Vane from Dual, who was this year's winner of the Young Marketer of the Year, and the standard just gets higher and higher. And Louis, you described yourself as a one of those long servers, but me and Simon would still say you're on that fresh faced horizon.
For now.
For now, yeah, there will come a time, sadly. Just, enjoy it while it lasts. Curiosity, one of the things that we always hear, I think it's changing, but still slowly, that people still have a preconceived view of what insurance looks like. How do you think, Jasmine, Louis, how do you think curiosity is going to influence the next generation of young marketers, and how they're going to come on board, and what's their expectations going to be? Who'd like to go first with that?
I don't mind going first. So I think it will change in a few ways. I think we're going to need curiosity a lot more to navigate a few challenges that we have coming up. So I think firstly, as to navigate the current digital transformation we're seeing and the rise of the e-commerce and the self-service models as they get more popular, I think we're going to have to get really creative to, stand out in that really crowded, competitive digital space. So I think that's going to be one. I think as well, Gen Z going to enter the market. So, marketing is going to have to evolve to engage digitally native audiences and younger audiences as well. I think Gen Z are meant to make up about 27% of the global workforce next year. So that change is going to be coming soon. And we've already seen, some insurers experimenting with TikTok for their grad schemes and things like this. And we have Sam from Empower Development, using TikTok to showcase insurance as a career option to that younger audiences. So yeah, I think curiosity,
and that's taken off enormously, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's done really well. It's like kind of the first proper insurance like TikTok influencer, I'd say. So it's all happening, and I think curiosity as well, with teams leveraging their younger talent to be like, what are we doing? Tell us more, and finding out more about how we tap in to those audiences.
Well, it's posting a window, isn't it? But sort of shining out to you. Louis, are you an influencer, TikTok or otherwise?
Oh no, I'm just on that borderline, I think. When I think about this question, I think about, am I the next generation, or have I kind of passed that? I think I'm just past that. So I'm kind of thinking about the people who are going to come next. And I was kind of thinking about how easily they're going to be able to adopt the kind of next, the next technology, right? Because I was thinking about how technology has changed since I grew up. And when I was young, I was knocking on my friends' doors to speak to them, and social media didn't exist, and we had dial-up internet. But obviously now, how, I don't know, short 10, 15 years, how much the world has actually changed.
You never had dial-up internet.
For a couple of years, I did.
What?
Yeah.
Hang on, let me get the little tune going.
Yeah, it's still in my head. And then somebody calls you up, and then you lose it all. Those are the days there, right? So I was just going to think about how easy I've gone from dial-up to having literally the world on my phone, and how I actually had that curiosity to bring it into my life. And I think it's just be really interesting to kind of see the next generation, what technology comes out, but also how they kind of going to bridge the gap between the people who are perhaps getting kind of older in terms of the former generations and the new kind of generations, and how they're going to bridge that gap. I think it's. Oh, go on, sorry.
Sorry, Louis, I was going to say that's a really good point. And what do you think we're going to end up with, the haves and have-nots? People, is it going to be the equivalent of those who refuse to have a mobile phone? Data AI driven analytics, is it going to push marketing and insurance so far ahead that those who don't get on board are going to miss out?
Yeah, possibly. I think, again, the new generation is going to have to be curious about exactly what they want and how they want to receive the information. Again, a long way to answer your question. I'm not an influencer. I'm just on Instagram and LinkedIn. That's as far as I'm going to go. But the next generation, they're completely different. TikTok's where they get most of the information from, right? And that's completely different from my generation, the generation before. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's open. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see, but also how they're going to bring on technology and apply that into the workforce as well, especially with marketing, with AI. Are we going to completely transform the way we do marketing with AI, ChatGPT, and stuff like that as well? So I think it's interesting, and one to watch out for.
The next 12 months are going to be fantastically interesting, aren't they? Absolutely exponential. What do you think, Simon? Are you an influencer?
Obviously.
Hashtag.
So I think the hard work that has been done by the likes of Jasmine and Louis today will mean that we are going to see a generation of elite marketeers in insurance. We are the way that the profession is evolving within the industry, the way that it's getting positioned, and the things that it will be enabling going forward will mean that next generation won't hear of the brollies and brochures and the things that we spoke about at the start. It'll be something confined to a museum, rather than something that's spoken about as a challenge. And I don't think you've got to be young to be involved in those environments. Back to the message of this session, about being curious. Even those people who might be of a similar age of me and even older, right? Being curious about these new platforms, about where people are engaging. You don't necessarily have to be active to be observant. It's not everybody's cup of tea to dance on the internet or whatever, but going on there to learn is really, really important. And it's amazing actually what you can take from those. And the examples shared absolutely resonate with me. There's things I've been observing on those platforms. And you mentioned at the start about the talent gap in insurance. Those people using those platforms will quickly become the mid to senior level individuals of insurance companies because of that talent gap that we have. We are missing a whole generation of mid to senior level individuals to serve the growth of the industry. So we will see people move more rapidly through these organizations. And I see it already. I see what might be perceived as younger, inexperienced people securing and deserving some incredible roles at carriers right now. So if you think that they aren't the right people to be influencing, I think you're wrong. And those are the platforms that these people are using. So make sure you're aware of them, make sure you understand them, and make sure you're curious about them.
Absolutely. It's democratizing knowledge in many ways, isn't it? Louis talked about 50% of potentially the market, of which some of those people are at the moment hold a lot of insights. If we can democratize curiosity insights, then we have access to that. So that stops knowledge going out of the door. Leads me, we've got Kamya Chowdhury's just put a question in. Again, Kamya's question is, how can organizations cultivate a culture of curiosity while still balancing the need for focus and productivity? Is curiosity, when it's corporatized, does it feed in to that focus and productivity? Tell us why Kamya might think that it doesn't, having asked the question. Louis.
I'm just getting my thinking cap on.
Little thinking cap on. Are we thinking of curiosity still as a soft skill of somebody just going up and asking a lot of questions, as opposed to eliciting insights, being able to extract knowledge that turns into information?
Yeah, I just kind of think back to what I was saying earlier about how kind of simple it can be. And I think it's actually just really important to make the kind of time to be curious. I think that's going to be one of my kind of final closing remarks. It's think about how beneficial you are in your personal life outside of work when you're kind of curious about certain things, whether it's, I don't know, trying a new Walker's crisps or new chocolate bar that kind of comes out. I think of the benefits you kind of get from that, and actually just having that as part of a culture in a company, I think could be so much more beneficial, both in terms of people's mental health and what they kind of get out of life, but also their productivity from that as well. So I think, curiosity should actually be more of a focus point for corporations. But I can kind of see how it can be quite hard. And productivity is also important, but unless your employees are happy and productive, then you're not going to get that, and then the rest of it with it, right?
Thank you, Louis, and I'm going to take that as your final remark because time is marching on there. So, Louis, you've said make time to be curious and to use that as part of a development process. Thank you for that question, Kamya. King has put a great question. Again, we can use this, it ties in very nicely with some of our closing remarks. How do you inspire your wider teams and stakeholders to utilize curiosity in their day-to-day? Jasmine?
I think a great starting point, especially if you're new in your career, is, I guess, to really know your business, its people and its products. Become an insurance geek like Simon, if you so want. It's hard to market something obviously effectively if you don't fully understand it. So I think take time to speak to people across your organization. This not only expands your knowledge, but also helps you build that internal network as well.
Absolutely. And being an insurance geek is aspirational, isn't it, Simon? It's the power of dreams, to see my Honda tagline there. Thank you.
That's very good. Yeah, nice bridge.
Thought I'd get in there. How about you? Final thoughts, Simon?
I think you got to champion the curious. As marketers, we can do that in numbers of ways. You can You can support those individuals. You can bring them into your marketing. You know, when we're humanizing our marketing, getting experts out there, whether it be social influencing, PR, speaker ops, you know, those individuals who demonstrate the hunger to be curious should be put at the fore of our organizations. Because back to your question around how do we make it influence our brand? Well, you know, we've got an intangible product. Those experts are our brand. So if we've got those curious individuals, put them at the fore of your marketing effort, champion them and celebrate them, and, you know, support them as much as you can.
Amazing. Totally agree. Can't believe we are almost out of time. So today, in just such in less than 60 minutes, we've talked about curiosity, how it fuels innovative campaigns, strengthens client relationships, and it drives differentiation. So it's really clear that it's incumbent on us to nurture that curious mindset within ourselves and within our teams, to ensure that continuous success. From my perspective, audience, thank you for joining us as we wrap up. I would encourage each of you to think of ways that you can cultivate curiosity, whether it's asking more questions, asking why, can't get away from asking why, fantastic. Exploring new tools, whether those are AI driven, or CRMs, or anything that provides us with analytical insights, and particularly challenging traditional approaches, not because they're intrinsically wrong, but is there a way we can improve this process? Is there a reason why we do it this way? Curiosity is the key to staying ahead. So again, massive thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Jasmine Handley from QBE, Louis Stevenson from Lockton, and Simon Johnson from Markel. So on behalf of the Insurance Marketers Group, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for engaging. Let's keep the conversation going, and we look forward to seeing you at our next IMG webinar, which will be whistling its way to your inbox sometime very soon. Thank you.